Welcome to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy came home.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Mr. Jerry Springer.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh. Thank you. For the people just listening to this, they can't see my eye.
No, it looks like you got in a bar fight.
It does. It does. It just. But don't be concerned. I'm going to be okay.
No one was worried.
Oh, you can see the worried look on people.
Super concerned.
No, one of those
Blood vessels?
blood vessels. Yeah, at my age, they just start popping.
Just wake
but it
up
doesn't
one day.
affect my vision. It's just the white part, but it's all red.
It really doesn't hurt because it looks like it would be painful.
I had and I don't even know when it happened.
Huh.
You know, I just looked in the mirror. Normally, when I look in the mirror, it's a great thrill for me. You can understand. but
Jim just fell over himself. On that. Cameraman
But
just fell.
then today I looked in it, and oh my gosh,
Huh.
what is that? Yeah, it's
You
kind
would
of scary.
think that would be your normal reaction, but no. Huh, how about that?
But don't worry, everybody. I'm going to be okay. Dead silence.
Dead silence.
You know, when you go on these late night talk shows and someone says something like, but I got through it okay, everyone starts clapping.
Yeah, it's weird that doesn't happen here.
Care.
This is
Hey,
not
we've got a
Conan.
group on called Wild Carrot. We had them on recently, and
Yeah.
they're very good. We invited
Very
them
cool.
back, and we're also going to ask Jerry to talk about this Democratic Party resistance movement, and he's got an interesting spin on this. I want to mention something. Megan Hills
Hi.
Hi, Megan. How are you? And
Doing well.
Megan has called me one day and said, "Hey, I got this idea for a podcast, and I'd like to do it, but I don't want to create any kind of conflict." She laid out the idea. So it's a hell of an idea, so she is doing it. And I think it's called Go Sleep With Me.
That is not what it's called at all.
Well,
not
wait,
even
wait, wait.
close.
Where
Is
do
that
you-
what it's called?
Where do you look that
Okay, I
up?
had that wrong. It's called Go to Sleep
Nope.
With Me.
Nope. It's not called Go to Sleep with Anyone, Gene.
No, what the hell is it called?
What is it?
It's
No,
called
it's-
Can You Tell Me a Story?
Oh,
And
well,
by the
that's
way,
an
isn't it-
exciting title.
Because Megan told me something, and as soon as she told me this, I said, "That's a hell of an idea." She says there is a podcast, Sleep With Me,
Called
isn't it?
Sleep With Me, yes.
and that is a podcast, and
this
it's
like
representative.
no, it's not like Tinder.
Representative of a niche,
Jesus Christ.
which is podcasts that help you
Fall
go to sleep
asleep.
at night.
Jerry's
Fall
still
asleep.
laughing at his own joke.
Yeah,
Let's
I
give
know.
him a second here.
He's stuck in the 90s or somewhere. But anyway,
Yeah. Sleep With Me is a podcast that a guy talks. He literally will talk about anything, and he's
Yeah.
got this fantastic, soothing voice. I think there was 45 minutes on Star Trek or something like that, and it just literally kind of lulls you to sleep.
And that makes people sleep with him?
Absolutely not with him, Jerry. Not with him while listening to him.
Jerry,
Oh.
Me Too
It's a-
movement, Jerry.
it's a
Me Too
podcast,
movement.
That's
Jerry.
why.
Right, Cavanaugh.
That's why I'd be opposed to that.
Right.
Jesus Christ.
But
So-
Megan's background. Let me kind of hype you for a second here. But you have a theater background. You do HR work now because
Yeah.
your master's prepares you to do that. But you have a theater background.
Mm-hmm.
You are an announcer. You do impersonations. Just go to our website and you'll find out all the impersonations. But she is very talented. And as soon as you said it, I thought, oh, that could work. You could get a microphone, get the rig that you need to do podcasting. Ours here is much more elaborate because we do music.
Sure.
But you can do it pretty simply. You can
Yep.
do it out of your home.
And that's what we're doing.
Get a website, create a really good podcast. So you are kind of field testing yours, so to speak, and
What is it called? Seriously.
So it's called Can You Tell Me a Story? And what it is essentially, I love, as Gene kind of talked about, I love theater, I love stories, I love storytelling, and I love fairy tales and the history of fairy tales. So it kind of started with the idea of talking about fairy tales, telling a fairy tale, and also giving kind of the lore background, maybe where it came from, the oral tradition that it came from. It could be anything from Hansel and Gretel to even like the Kalevala, which is the Finnish folklore, and talking about where it came from, how it started, how it got transcribed into the story that we know today. So that the theory is that parents could listen to it with kids in the car. It could be the story and also the history behind it.
And could be...
And put you to sleep while you're listening to it.
Which, by the way, is not a bad thing. I mean, in other words, when you look at a podcast as something that helps soothe you, relax you when you go to sleep by it,
Yep.
I think that is solid.
And
So I
Gene was super
congratulate
cool when
you.
I talked to him because he said, yeah, you could definitely put people to sleep with your voice. Thank you, Gene.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could definitely do that.
Yeah,
People would fall
that'll
asleep
work.
listening
That's
to you like that.
No, I never thought of that genre of podcasts
Yeah.
that help relax people on it. Because podcasts are, people listen to them running, going to work, coming home from work, cooking, and I never thought
Falling
of it,
asleep.
but sleeping.
Yeah.
So good for you, Megan.
Yeah, thanks. I'll keep you
So
up to
we
date.
will follow it. We will link to it
How
on
much
our
they paying you?
website.
Yeah, they're not paying me,
And-
Jer. It's not unlike this podcast.
Yeah. Right. She
But
makes
yeah,
a
it will
killing
be.
off of this
Can
one.
you tell me a story? Not do you want to sleep with me?
No.
Well, who came up with that title?
No, I don't know. I'm
You
not the
were
one
the
that
one,
said
Gene.
it.
I'm
No, I
getting
didn't
the
say
flack.
it.
You
No, I
came
didn't
up
say
with
that.
it.
I would never say such a thing. Hey, by the way, and I've had a track record of businesses that I've started in the Ludlow area.
Not one of them successful.
Hey, listen to this one.
Yeah.
And you want to know something? This one is dead serious. I came into Folk School Coffee Parlor recently. Catfish Williams is on City Council in Ludlow.
Yes.
He's not running now. This podcast is the official endorser of Julie Terry Navarre.
Woo!
So she is running.
Julie's awesome.
We ask you to vote for Julie if you don't live in
It's
Ludlow.
not Julie. Stop trying to give
Move
this woman
in
money.
quickly. She's back there.
Where?
So, and Jerry's giving her a check
I
that
gave
follows
her,
the
didn't
endorsement.
I? Well,
From the other room, Julie says she
This
yes,
is a
I got it.
professional
But here's this
operation.
idea. So, Lime and Birds, they're in cities across the country. Limes and Birds. So these are electric scooters. I'm sure there's some controversy, and it's like anything, a bicycle, a motorcycle, walking, cars, somebody's, there's going to be something when you got people doing stuff. But they are really happening. So I am proposing, and Catfish is going to carry this idea to the city council, that, because I'm going to be backpacking in Yosemite, I care more about that than
Really anything.
anything. But no. Anyway, Catfish is going to read a proposal that I've written, so he doesn't have to be the one because it could be controversial.
Sure.
We're trying to get those in Ludlow
That'd be awesome.
because it's called last mile transportation philosophy. When you get off a bus or a subway in New York City, that's not in front of your office or your home.
Ever.
So that last mile, you jump on a city bike, or they have them in Cincinnati called red bikes. But now you jump on a scooter that has a little trigger throttle, goes up to 15, it's got a handbrake, and they're a blast.
Gene, this is a good idea.
It's a hell of an idea.
How did you come up? How did
Because
you
it already
come up
exists.
With this?
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Listen to this.
But what bus do people get off of here?
Jerry, we'll
The
talk.
Ludlow
We'll tell you
Ludlow
what.
City Bus.
Ah,
that's-
there it is.
It's all kind of connects up. But so then a guy that hangs out at Folk School Coffee Parlor came up with the idea that we'll call them the Rats, because we're a river town, so we're river rats.
And they have the rat races here, don't they?
The rat races. We're
Yes,
gonna have the rat
they're so
races.
cool. Do you guys know about the rat races in Ludlow? Gene, tell them about it. Like they literally race rats once a year. It's really cool. It's the
Yeah.
rat races of Ludlow.
Do they really? I didn't know about that.
Didn't know
no.
this? No, it's a real thing, and they do them in Bellevue as well.
Oh,
You
well,
know?
who wouldn't want to move into here?
Hey, it's
Yeah.
really cool.
So
no
you-
rats are
you, gotta-
harmed.
you should get on the chamber.
So we could
Come to
have
Ludlow.
rats, and actually, I do hope it happens.
that
And there's
really
an
is a cool
alley
idea.
system in Ludlow, so even the kind of main drag that comes through town, there's an alley system that runs parallel to it. But have you ridden? I've been riding the Birds because they're just interesting and cool.
I
Just-
haven't.
Just put an app on your phone and it's all real simple.
Huh.
Have you ridden either the Bird or the Lime scooters in Cincinnati?
No, it requires balance.
No,
It requires
actually,
an app on a phone, and
I
the
would
flip
hate to-
phone
Yeah,
turns out doesn't carry the apps.
Should pull out your cell phone for a second. We've done this before. For people who are listening and not watching, Jerry is opening
how
up
do you get
a flip
How
phone.
do you get the?
It doesn't.
Pop it closed so they can hear you close a flip phone. There's a flip phone.
Call's
That's
over,
why-
baby.
That's why they call
No
that.
apps on this phone. Thank
That's
you
why they
so
call
much.
that the flip phone. We got this guy, last thing, and I'm going to ask you to talk about this resistance movement. There's a guy running here in this area for state rep. Buddy Wheatley's his name.
Yeah.
And the other day somebody said, somebody asked me, who do you support Buddy Wheatley? And I said, what party is he? And they said, Democrats. I said, yeah, I'm for him. And they said, well, you want to know anything about him? I said, no, I don't need to know anything about him. He's a Democrat. And that's called a yellow dog Democrat.
Yeah.
That's what I am. Even if it's a old yellow dog that's
Yeah.
running, I'm for. That is horrible at
Not
my
good.
age.
Not good.
I mean, that is so anti-intellectual. I don't care anything. I don't need any more information.
Are they on my team? Cool. Let's do it.
Yeah, right. Anyway, so I am for Buddy Wheatley because he's actually very good. Been to this podcast, by the way.
Yeah.
Good guy. The resistance movement, we hear that a lot. Democratic Party. It's not that the Democratic Party has coined the phrase. They actually have not, and some of them kind of run from it. But it has been coined, part of the resistance against Donald Trump.
Right.
Is that a good idea? Does that resonate? Does it make sense?
Well, it's just, I think it's a misnomer. Well, let me explain it this way. And it's come to the fore again, obviously, with the hearings on whether Kavanaugh should be on the Supreme Court. The resistance movement, or what we call the resistance movement, is once again standing up and wanting more of an investigation into him. And I started thinking of it like this, and I'll get to the resistance in a second. 15 years ago, I did a movie, and the movie was called Citizen Verdict. And with all the joking I do about movies I've been in, actually, this was a pretty good movie. I was in it with Roy Scheider from Jaws, whatever, and went to the Cannes Film Festival. It was a good movie. And in that movie, the concept, what it was about, was a television station in Florida, in the state of Florida. And the idea, remember, this is in the decade where we started to televise trials. And so we televised trials, and it was also the decade where we started to have reality television. And what I mean by that is where the people at home would vote. You know, you would vote people off the island. You would vote for people out of the house. You would vote for people on America's Got Talent or American Idol or whatever. So that it's two concepts, both, where you would have criminal trials actually televised. And then we also had, as I said, people at home voting on their television shows. So the idea that in the movie that I had with my television station was, let's televise, and I was a friend of the governor, so let's televise trials, as we now do, but change the law in Florida so that the people watching will vote in the end on guilt or innocence. A far-fetched idea, but the idea of the movie was there are two things that we didn't think would ever happen. Now what if you suddenly merged it? And in this populist era, you have the people at home decide guilt or innocence, not just 12 people on a jury. And the movie was about how scary that got. And when it got really stupid was, if it's a murder case and the viewing audience, they would have an hour to vote, voted guilty. And if it was the death penalty, for an extra $19.95, you could watch the execution. That was the crazy movie. But it had powerful messages about what's happening to pop culture and how extreme this can go. And I started to think of the Cavanaugh trial, because as everyone's arguing about, let's hear all the evidence, and we have to have witnesses, and how do you know they're telling the truth, and doesn't everyone have to be under, don't you need a full investigation? All of that you would need in a criminal trial. It got me to thinking that, in a sense, these hearings on Kavanaugh are like that movie, because really it's the public that is going to decide whether he gets on the Supreme Court, because all the senators are watching the public, watching the reaction. They're not playing to rules of evidence. They're playing to the cameras. If it looks like the woman, Dr. Ford, is very believable and really comes across well, the white male senators, some of them, or few of them, may be willing to change their vote because they figure, oh boy, I look horrible if I don't believe her. So it really is, in the end, the public deciding in this case whether or not Kavanaugh goes through, not any specific rules of evidence that would never pass muster in a regular case. And the credit for this, and everyone starts talking about the resistance movement, is really gaining strength now. And I started to think about that, and the reason I think it's a misnomer is all these movements. The resistance movement started the day after Trump was elected. Because if you remember, January 21st, the day after he was sworn in, millions of people gathered in cities all around the country protesting. Mostly women, but millions of people. And he hadn't done anything yet. So you started to think, but it was called the resistance. And all of a sudden, all these groups over the last year and a half have become part of the resistance. And the groups are often totally different. In some cases, it's a women's group. In some cases, it's people gathering at the airports because Muslims weren't permitted to come in. Remember when we did that? And in some groups, it's people of disabilities lying down in the halls of Congress because of legislation that of health care that wasn't going to take care of them. And so that's what's called the resistance. In other words, you have all these different groups with different issues. And it got me to thinking that, wait a second, we got this backwards. All these groups, they're not the resistance. Trump is the resistance. Trump and the people that voted for him were resisting the idea America. We're resisting the inevitability of a liberal movement in this country for 240 years. Everything in our history is how society becomes more and more liberal. And who resists? The right-wing conservatives have resisted. They resisted for years civil rights. They resisted integrating our schools. They resisted Social Security. They resisted Medicare. They resisted the environmental movement. They resisted equal rights for women, gay marriage. Every movement that is inclusive, that makes America live up to its ideal of being multicultural, the true patriots of America, recognizing what the idea America is, that's America. And the vote for Trump really was, and I don't even mean this in a mean way, it really was people that are just upset with what they perceive is America moving more and more to the left. All of a sudden, oh, them gays are going to get married. Oh my gosh, the women, they're getting all these rights. You know, and these workers, they want to have a union. I mean, all this stuff, and pop culture, and marijuana is now legal in some places. It's like Trump was their last stand against, and now we had an African-American president. I mean, whatever their reasons were, it was a resistance to the inevitability of America following its dream of ultimately becoming an absolutely free, liberty, multicultural place on earth, which is what was originally in our Declaration of Independence. All people are created equal. That's the idea, America. And so we are not the resistance. No. We are living up to what the American ideal is. And the reason you see all these groups suddenly coming in and grabbing on, it's because they're all Americans. They're saying, wait a second, I happen to be Muslim, but I'm still American. Don't keep me out. I have a Hispanic background. Don't keep me out. That's America. So no, we're not the resistance. Trump's the resistance. And in the end, America will win out. America will win out. There are individual battles we lose. There are even individual elections we lose. But as I always say, every 10 years, America is more liberal than it was 10 years before. In the end, liberals always win.
Thank you, Jerry. And we are bringing back for a second week Wild Carrot. Welcome back, guys. So we have here Pam and Spencer. And so I have here that you guys were cultural ambassadors to South America.
That is true.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, we got a call one summer, and this woman said, would you like to go to Chile, South America, and tour? And we were like, no.
Yeah, no, we're good. We're solid.
Yeah, no, we'll pass. No, so we ended up being cultural ambassadors to Chile through the local, that office of the State Department.
So what does that entail?
It entails touring the country and playing music and doing interviews and teaching some classes. And what
That's
else would you say
really
it involves?
cool.
Yeah.
Very
And it was very interesting. We've been there twice, and the first time we were there, the Iraq War started.
Wow.
So that was really interesting to be there at that time in history. And we just sort of said, the State Department was very concerned about what we would say.
Sure.
And we just chose to sort of be Switzerland and say, we're here to learn about you and teach you about our culture. And, the more we know about each other, like Jerry was saying, the more we'll all get along. And these kinds of things won't happen anymore. So,
And Pam,
that's
you
kind of
served
what
in
we
the
pushed.
Peace Corps in Costa Rica, correct?
I did serve in the Peace Corps. In Costa Rica, I traveled in Central and South America for about 3 years around, during and after my service.
And at what age did you do that? I mean, not
Long
right
time
after
ago.
college, but
It
after
was.
you were into life for a while. Is that correct?
No, it was pretty much right out of college.
It was,
I
okay.
had a little breakdown in college where I didn't want to go work 9 to 5 in some fluorescent lit place, and
But why not? Come on now.
I came back and still couldn't work a straight job, so I'm playing music.
I work with Jerry Springer, so you're doing okay.
No fluorescent lights here.
No, thank God. Well, we're very excited to have you guys back, and if you would share with us your song, Real Love.
Glad to do that.
This is Pam and Spencer, Wild Carrots.
We get asked a lot if we're married, and we are. To each other. It's all about real love, and we sure could use a lot of that these days. How we gonna fix this thing? All you've got's tape, all I've got's string, and what we need more than anything is real love. We've been hauling this around, just driving us into the ground. When we can laugh and lay it down, we'll find real love. Know me whole, but love me still. It's the prayer of time and the test of every will. Know me whole, but love me still. sometime, someplace. We'll swallow our pride in the bitter taste. We'll open up a little space for real, real love. Know me, hold, but love me still. It's the prayer time and the test of every will. Know me, hold, but love me still. Know me, hold, but love me still. It's the prayer time and the test of every will. Know me, hold, but love me still. How we gonna fix this thing? How we gonna fix this thing?
Bravo! Oh.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen,
Thanks very much.
that was Wild Carrot. You can check them out at wildcarrot.net and check out their album Between the Darkness and the Light. And you said you are on iTunes, everything, all the usual suspects, right?
All the usual suspects.
Fantastic.
Yeah, usually Wild Carrot Music. If you search on that, you'll find us.
Well, it's just been a pleasure
really
having you
good.
both. Love
Well,
it.
thank you
yeah,
so much.
Really
Appreciate
beautiful.
that.
Your voices are just gorgeous together.
Aw,
really
thanks.
enjoy it. So
And now we can make it even better.
And we're going to ruin
Yeah.
it now because Jerry's
Just you
going to
wait.
sing with you. And so we appreciated all your beauty, and now Jerry's going to take care of that with a little Down by the Riverside. But again, wildcarrot.net, check them out. Take us on home, guys.
All right. 3, 4, gonna lay down my heavy load down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my heavy load down by the riverside. Study war no more. I ain't gonna study war no more. 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 Take it, Jerry.
Gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I ain't gonna study war no more.
You've been listening to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery, recorded live at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky. Thanks to Patrick Kennedy for writing our opening song, and to you for listening. Check out our website at jerryspringer.com.
No more.